Okay, I've been feeling really crafty lately, really wanting to create something. I hadn't known what to do. Brian and I were talking a lot about how it's just too hot to be doing things outside. I just went out and it was 110 degrees, and it's like, no thanks. So, crafting seems like a great thing to do right now and stay cool. So, I don't know if I'm going to post this video. It really just depends on how the craft turns out. And also, I'm a little embarrassed because it is a craft project for a doll. My goal is to make a rack for hanging clothes and storing shoes and other accessories. And I also want to make a bunch of coat hangers. So I went to the craft store with the expectation that they still had like a wood crafting section with balsa wood and little saws and tiny nails and stain and all the great things that used to be at the craft store that no longer seem to exist. So I kind of had to get a little bit creative with some of the things that they did have. And so what I found were these tiny little crates and these oh gosh, Bean is just gonna make a mess. These wooden boxes. This is what I'm thinking I can use to make the coat hangers. And this is to scale. So that's kind of the size, although I might have to modify it now that I have the dowels. No, that should be fine. So these are the dowels. I only need one, but they don't sell them individually anymore. And I'm not sure, this is going, if I don't cut it down to length, it'll be very long. So I'm not really sure yet, but I do have a lot of clothes. So it might be nice to have it really long. But my idea is just to drill a hole and then set the dowel in them. That way I can take it apart and, hi Bean, take it apart. This is just for you. This is really why I do things. Just so Bean can be entertained. What was I saying? So that I could break it down and make it smaller. Because space, you know, is a thing. And then I bought these little planks, and I'm imagining cutting them also down to size so that they can be the little shelving systems. I don't know if I'm going to use all of these crates yet. I might just use one on each of the bottom and then have a shelf in the center, because I have like these little boots that I want to be able to display, and so there has to be enough room for everything. But I took a bunch of measurements before I left of like the length of the shoes and the height of the shoes and the measurements of like these pants if I fold them into quarters, into fourths, so that I can, you know, stack them up. And maybe they'll do better. I don't know, maybe I should roll them and I can store them like that. Have a couple of pants in the bottom there. I don't know, we'll see. So we're gonna play around with it. I also got these little peg people because I thought they would actually make good feet for this like dresser system. I'm just gonna call it a dresser. And I bought two sets because the one I actually want is this, and there's 4 of these in each. And so I'm just going to glue them on the bottom. When I'm done with cutting out all of the, let's see, oh my goodness, my brain is taking its sweet time. When I'm done putting the shelves in and gluing everything on, I'm going to paint it. And I kind of want to make it look a little bit beat up, and I kind of envision having these little, I think this will be strong enough. I guess I don't really know. I kind of envision having like little miniature decals on one of them, maybe. I don't know, to make it look a little bit more used and kind of worn, and like this object that exists in someone's house. I'm always a little bit hesitant to do projects like this because I am not a particularly patient person, and I am not a particularly precise person either. And I really admire people that have that like ability to be super precise in their designs and their crafts and their everything that they do in life. And so I always feel a little intimidated because I also have like really high expectations, and I want it to look a certain way. I want it to be really believable and really realistic and not contrived and looking like it actually is something that has been used and is a functioning object. And I don't know, like I hope I can make that happen. This glue, by the way, sets very fast. I'm really surprised. But that is nice. Crafting with a ferret is complicated. He is like King Kong. He's really innocent, and he just means well, and he just wants to have fun and explore the world, but he doesn't realize that he's like a giant amongst this little miniature city and can be really destructive. That took so many pass-throughs, and I don't think this is the best way to cut the wood, but it's the way I've got. And there is kind of a rough edge that I would like to sand down. But I wanted to get a sense first of how the fit was, and that's actually really good. Awesome. So the question is, I think I would like to do, oh gosh, it's gonna be a lot of cutting. I think I'd like to do potentially 3 shelves. I think that's the best option. Oh, I also bought these, I don't know, I thought maybe I could water them down and use them as staining for the crates. I think I'm going to paint the shelves with some house paint that I have left over. And yeah, that could work. I think that'll do. Just in case I want to switch things up a little. That book is way too big. I don't know if this shelf actually like holds in there really well, which is quite nice. And if that remains to be the case, then they can be removable, and adjustable, which would be really fantastic. So I could have on one side just a single shelf up down low and maybe one up high to like, I could just have shoes and then some books displayed on the side like this. They could also, of course, go at the top. And maybe I can make little bookshelves or bookends. Oh my goodness. What am I doing? I feel like I am like diving into a very deep hole right now. This is a hole that I have been kind of avoiding for a little while now because I knew, I said it could be all consuming. But you know what? I want to craft. I want to make things. I feel the urge. So this just seemed to be something inspiring and here we are. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh baby. Pretty exciting. I guess, oh, you know what? That's because these are not precisely made. And wow, that's really different. Okay, so the fit on this one is just a little bit bigger. So it looks like I will have to figure out how I want to attach these. Okay, so I went ahead and sanded all of the edges just to make it look a little bit more finished and not as abrupt and harsh. And then I have made little railings. So I'm going to glue those in and then glue in the shelf. And I'm a little bit nervous about this, but we're going to do it. Okay, I'm excited. The railings are in and they're mostly dried. I'm not ready yet to put the shelves in. I want to make sure that these are really dry. It might not be perfect. They might not be level. I did the best that I could, just eyeballing it. And hopefully that will be good enough. I couldn't find any of my brushes, but I did find this one. This is going to be tedious, but it'll do. I'm going to go ahead and paint the crates now. I have a bowl of water. I have a bowl for this stuff, whatever, paint. The paint, I'm going to try to water it down and use it as a stain. And then I plan on actually putting little paint splotches and potentially maybe decoupage some images on them. I have even these little stamps that I could factor in just so that they look like little crates that have been used to move things, sell things, you know, the way crates do. So this is all kind of an experiment. I've never, ooh, that's actually a lot thicker. So less paint, more water. I want these crates to look old and well used, so I'm not being too particular about how I'm applying the paint. I kind of embracing the splotchiness. I might even try to do like some oil stains. I don't know if that would work. We'll see. So funny. I really appreciate things that are used. And so like with doll things, shoes, for example, they don't ever actually get used because, you know, the doll is not actually walking around in them. And I really want them to look like they're used. And I think that's my biggest issue with doll shoes. I have always really struggled with doll shoes. And I think that's a big part of it, is that they just look fake to me because they're so brand spanking new all the time. And so I had this idea that maybe I would try to do some aging on my doll shoes and maybe even like sand down the tread, the heel a little, so that I'm like, oh, this person is really heavy on their heel and the sole has worn down. And so we'll see. I kind of want to do that. I think it would be fun. Okay, so here they are. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I like the style of them. I like the paint color. I like how the what's it called? You know, when you beat something up intentionally. I think it's just the right amount. I felt like it could have been very easily taken too far, and then it would just look really contrived. So I tried to imagine how these pieces of furniture were used and how they would reflect the use by sanding down and revealing certain aspects of it. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. I actually also did a couple of paint splatters on this one, just a very little, just to, like, you know, there's a story there. I don't know what it is, but it's there. So yeah, I'm happy with how they turned out. The thing that I am not happy with is the scale of them next to a doll. I just feel like they're really short and narrow, and they just don't make any sense. It feels like the proportions are all wrong. So what I'm thinking of doing is marrying the two of these together. So actually like gluing them like that, and then putting these little sticks on top. I'll paint them as well. Maybe I can even paint them a different color or stain them. Oh my God. It's getting crazy. And turn it into a single unit. And I just feel like the proportions are so much better. So I'm going to sand down the edges and figure out how I want to paint these. Oh, and glue the whole thing together. Going to go ahead and glue these together as well, just to make them a single unit. I think it'll just be easier to work with. Okay, here's the final product, and I have to say, I'm actually really excited with how it turned out, and I'm a little bit proud that I did it, that I saw it through, and really happy that I actually like how it turned out, which is rare. So that's a great feeling. I went to an antique store and I found a couple of little props. Those are live plants, by the way, from pups of bigger houseplants that we have, and yeah, I think I'm glad I went with a dresser or like a bigger bookshelf instead of the clothes rack. I think that was a good call. I like how the crates turned out. I ended up putting Mod Podge on them, which really just kind of helped bring out some of those details and made them look more finished. And I didn't go overboard with the weathering and the distressing. I think it was just the right amount, although I recognize that maybe it was a lot of effort to like put a base layer of different colored paint just to like sand the tiniest amounts away of the final paint. But it's worth it because now it feels legit rather than if I were just to paint on the weathered aging marks afterwards. So, and my doll got a little bit of a makeover. I painted those little ears, and yeah. So thank you all for watching.